Hello and welcome everyone. Andy Bryan here again from the Soul Pathway. And today I have the pleasure and privilege to interview Miguel Dean to share his spiritual journey and soul pathway, and more importantly, his twin flame journey that's led him to be the incredible person that he is today. He has just launched a new book, which I think is incredible actually, because I think when it comes to our own journey with regards to a twin flame, there's not a lot of men that speak about this journey, and it's so important for each and every one of us to connect with what it means for us. So it's going to be really great for Miguel to share his journey and story, but more importantly, his book, which is actually entitled "Bring Him Home: A Twin Flame Love Story." So I am really looking forward to interviewing Miguel today. Before we get started though, Miguel, tell me a bit more about yourself, your work, and more importantly, your book.
Okay, thanks, Andy. Yeah, thank you for the invitation to be here. Myself, my work, and the book. We could talk about that for a while. Okay, let's see if I can do myself. Yeah, they're all kind of like interwoven, really. My work is been evolving, and it's now very much about catalyzing the divine twin flame union within the hearts of men and women. You know that we have, every man and woman has a masculine and a feminine, quality to them, energy, and sort of yin yang dance. That yin yang symbol really sort of like sums it up beautifully, illustrates it, that both are contained within each other, complementary opposites. So my work is very much about that, the balancing, because that's what I've found in my own journey, that as I've balanced the masculine and feminine energies within myself, then that plays out. That is a reflection of what shows up in my life. So, often in life we're taught to, for a romantic relationship is going to complete us or heal us or whatever. But it seems to me that the real work is always inside ourselves, and the relationships that we have are just sort of mirror reflections and just show us what inner work, where the wounds are, where the tenderness, where the transformation is needed within ourselves. So that's kind of the work that I'm about these days, that do that through speaking and workshops and one-to-one sacred masculine healing sessions. It's kind of encompassed in this book, really. I mean, this book, as you say, Bring Him Home: A Twin Flame Love Story, published by Sacred Stories, is it's my journey. It's the journey of me meeting an amazing woman that really catalyzed, my inner healing, really, and that inner union within myself. We met very synchronistically. Very quickly, there was a really deep connection, and there was a very passionate love affair that evolved very quickly, and it took us deep into that, into the terrain where the honeymoon period ended quite quickly, and it all became quite tumultuous, and there was a lot of purging and clearing and healing. There was a dance of us, sort of coming together, getting really scared, disappearing, coming back. And, the book essentially, just charts that journey of, as it says, bring him home. Just bringing me home to the truth of who I am, bringing me back to my heart that was still sort of guarded by a lot of fear and old trauma from my childhood.
Yeah, and often that is what comes up through this journey, isn't it? We've got these traumas, we've got these emotions, we've got these, whatever they are, deep rooted emotions, fears, doubts, any sort of traumas that are held within us. They just come to the surface in order to resolve, to heal, and like you said in your book, and I obviously haven't read it yet, but I'm really excited to read it. But bringing home yourself, in order for healing those aspects,
it's essential work, and it was, it was by no means easy, but the freedom and the sense of peace and wholeness that not to make it sound like, you know, I'm Mr. Sorted and all complete now. I think there's always new levels.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's what the book is about. It's about it covers the period of about a year of the and all, you know, all the kind of magical stuff that happened. There was a lot of Kundalini energy, and you know, and the book explores, you know, the sacred union of man and woman, and it explores you know, sacred sexuality. It's quite passionate, you know, it's balanced by this real trauma and raw, gritty, sort of painful stuff, and on the other side was this beautiful passion, you know, that was between me and this woman. And I guess, you know, it was quite important for me. It was a big thing for me to write the sort of bedroom scenes, if you like, but I wanted to portray and bring to light, you know, a subject that's often a bit taboo, you know, or we don't talk about sex and we keep that private. And apart from, you know, pornography, which seems to be everywhere, and, you know, lots of people are massively into it and addicted to it and so on. But so I wanted to bring to light, you know, the other conscious aspect of sexuality and how sacred the act actually is.
And that's beautiful, isn't it? That's beautiful, because if we look at it, that's what it's all about, you know, the purity of love in the embodiment of our sexuality, in terms of our connection, and really all of it, isn't it? The combination of all of these things, you know.
Yeah. You know, I think Hollywood can be, you know, has a lot to answer for, really. You know, this idea that romance is a certain way. I think Hollywood just portrays one thin strand of what relationships are actually about. And for me, that, you know, I like the saying, in relationships are the highest form of yoga. You know, if you want to get your shit together, if you want to get, you know, clear the path than that, then there's, you know, a relationship will bring stuff up for you, you know, fast and quick, especially if it's a twin flame one.
So let's jump into your actual story, because I love to share people's journey and their story, because I believe with every journey and story, there's a message, and, you know, you've got an amazing message to share. You've got your own wisdom, like we all have in our own journeys. You know, our wisdom is what we find within ourselves, and obviously that's what you speak about, you know, bringing yourself home. So we're going to go through the soul pathway process in terms of your twin flame journey, what awakened you, some of the challenges and obstacles you faced, and in many ways, you know, we've said this already, that we're always going to be a work in progress in many ways, but I do believe there's that union that we have within ourselves at some stage. It's a beautiful union where often we feel at one with ourselves and even in our twin soul. So we're going to speak about all of those things. But what I wanted to find out and start with regards to your journey was specifically regards to your twin flame and twin soul here, is who were you before you met your twin soul, your twin flame? I know you've been in your spiritual journey for a long time, but were you very spiritual before this process even began?
I think I've been on a sort of, I didn't realize it to begin with, but when I look back, that my spiritual journey began about 22 years ago. You know, at that place really where the pain was too intense of where I was, and I realized that I needed to start doing things differently, and I needed to, you know, take responsibility. And for the first time, I realized that, you know, my past was all connected with the pain that I was experiencing in the present. So so it kind of began 22 years ago, but and I suppose it's sort of deepened. There have been plateaus and there have been sort of paradigm shifts. So before the twin flame, you know, I was quite a spiritual person, but I think there was a bit too much of me that was still looking outside, you know, still sort of interested in spirituality in the world and, you know, service externally and so on. And there was a bit of I guess I thought that I'd done more of my inner work than I needed to. And then I met my twin flame, and it was like, okay.
You can think about that again, you know.
There was a whole new level and a whole new layer, you know, that I hadn't hadn't addressed really. Yeah. So yeah.
Interesting, isn't it? It's very interesting, and I found that out with myself in terms of my own spiritual journey and healing. You know, I felt like I'd healed many different aspects within myself, and then I went about my journey, and then something emerged from the shadow, and I was like, oh God, there's something much deeper here that I haven't even recognized yet. And you think, oh, what is it that I needed to really honor and work through, and not look externally, but like you said, look internally and say, this is what we need to do, you know?
Yeah. It's
So
an ongoing journey. It's an ongoing journey. Like they say, the journey is the destination, eh? With every hero's journey or soul pathway.
yeah, this always the journey is the destination, which is a beautiful unfoldment, really, and it can be undoubtedly traumatic and challenging at times, you know, but it's a beautiful unfoldment. So if we jump into where you first recognize your twin flame or twin soul, or even more importantly, where you first met, your eyes first met, what was it like in order for that connection?
Yeah, I mean, I'll describe it I'll tell you what, I'm going to read a tiny bit because it's just, you know, it's how the book actually begins. So just a little tiny bit. It wasn't so much, it's written in the third person, yeah?
Yeah.
It wasn't so much that he noticed her when she entered the room. Rather, he noticed how everything else seemed to fade. Like a camera zoomed and focused in on the subject of the photograph, everything else was a blur. The moving shapes of the other people were only vaguely apparent amongst the distant sounds and bustle at the author fair, where he was promoting himself and his books. Her blonde hair was like a glowing beacon, and she walked with the gentle grace of a quietly confident woman who knows that she is pleasing to the eye. He couldn't tell her age from where he stood, although the way she moved suggested that she was not young and had experienced a generous portion of life.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is the little preview there. That's how it opens. You know, there's just like everything else kind of disappeared, and I was in this really busy room, and I was just conscious of this woman entering the room.
Yeah.
And then before too long, she was stood in front of me, and we had this brief conversation, which just lasted for 5 minutes, and then I didn't see her again for 9 months.
I ask people to focus on a spot in the distance on the wall, and then allow their awareness to expand. So you're truly focused and aware. And you know, when you read that, I could see that, you know, you were very much so focused and aware, like your awareness just honed in, because in many ways you could say you found your way home. That was your home, wasn't it? You know, and that was your focus, your awareness, and became your focal point, you know.
She was kind of the door, I would say. She was the doorway home. So it was quite it wasn't until 9 months later that we met again, and again, when I first saw her, there was just a very strong attraction, and it's like, you know, something very beautiful that was transcended just the sort of physical beauty. It was like this magnetic pull, really. And it seems that in a way, that magnetic pull, it was really essential, because it was like some of the work was so traumatic and so challenging, you know, to actually resolve some of the wounds within myself, that there had to be that level of attraction. Otherwise, you would have just walked away really quickly and gone, "Oh, sod this, I'm not doing it, it's too painful." But there's such an alluring sort of magnetic pull that it's like, okay, I will do this work, you know, because I so want to be with this woman that I'm prepared to go through this pain.
So let me ask you, that first soul recognition, where you first connected, that first brief encounter, obviously. Were there any real emotions that came up within you, or potentially it may be a place of stillness that you felt within yourself, and a place of peace?
Yeah, it's a good question, Andy. And I'm kind of sort of like rewind back, and I think that the emotion that what arisen most will have been a kind of excitement. You know, it was an excitement. It was and I didn't really. I've always kind of, in the past, I always felt twin flame stuff was a bit woo woo, you know, and I was always a bit, you know, I tried to be open to everything, but regardless, I was probably a bit dismissive. But there was you know, there was just something very strong and yeah, and very right.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to explain it, really. Yeah, it's hard to explain it. Because
I think I know what you mean, though. It's like with spiritual concepts, they can seem quite out there, and we know that, you know, twin flame, twin soul. Like we can quickly go into what we define as a twin soul in a moment, if you like. But it's like this otherworldly concept, which doesn't quite fit in this world, you could say. And that yet when you finally connect with someone that embodies that individual or that person for yourself, then you realize the realism of what it is, don't you? You know. But if I was to ask you, what will you define as twin soul or a twin flame, and how did you come to terms with sort of connecting with what it meant for you?
I remember halfway through you know, halfway through the book relationship, as far as the book went. Yeah, in the story, you know, that we sat and watched a video on YouTube about twin flames and the difference between twin flames and soulmates. Yeah, and I remember thinking, oh God, you know, twin flame just sounds a bit full on and stuff, but I want you to be my soulmate. That just sounds so much smoother and easier and sweeter, and it's like, you know, we're going to be together and live happily ever after. Whereas twin flame was very much, you know, there's no guarantee that you're going to be together, you know. But as I look back now, you know, I can see that. I remember looking at a website and it said the eight factors to know that it's a twin flame. And each one of those 8 things were like, yes, 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 that fits, that fits, that fits. But I mean, in essence, it was, for me, a twin flame is somebody that will fast track you back home to the truth of who you really are. You know, it may not be very romantic or very glamorous or very spiritual, but it just feels like, because I believe that every relationship has the potential to do that to a certain extent. But I think a twin flame, well, every relationship has the potential to move you forward and to grow you. Whereas my sense is that a twin flame can take you all the way home and will do it quick and fast and no messing about sort of thing if you're prepared to go there.
Yeah, and an interesting thing when you mentioned that, the first thing that came up in my head when you said that was unconditional love, but not unconditional love of your twin flame, but truly yourself. You know, truly yourself. No, you know, we do love our twin flame, a twin soul, no doubt about that. But it's that real, I love myself. I'm gonna really, really love and appreciate and honor myself, who I am in the wholeness of everything. You know.
Well, it's both, I think, Andy. You know, because I guess in a way, again, if we think of the twin flame thing as the kind of the yin yang symbol, it's 2 different sides of the same coin, if you like. You know, we're the same. It's the same. So the extent to which I love myself, I mean, I am able to love her, and the extent to which I'm able to love her is the extent to which I'm able to love myself.
Definitely, no, I do completely agree. I suppose I said that in a way because often you could see that a lot of twin flames have got such an external focus to their twin flame or twin soul that that there is that real recognition within ourselves of that self-love, you know, that we need to embody.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I guess, yeah, you know, it's a very valid point. In a way, the journey is a journey of self-love. But yeah, so often we end up just looking at the world that our society teaches us to look outside. And yeah, there's twin flame brings you a real reminder that you have to love yourself. You can only love another to the extent to which you love yourself. That simple yet profound truth.
So if we look at your phase of self-inquiry, I speak about the phase of self-inquiry as a place of inquiring within yourself as what this connection means to you, and how you begin to embody it rather than, move away from it. Because, Joseph Campbell spoke about it in The Hero's Journey, and I speak about it in Soul Pathway. I speak about it in regards to self-inquiry more than the refusal to call, because I believe it doesn't need to be such a heavy thing nowadays. But the refusal to call is obviously when we have that fear, doubt, and limiting belief that comes up within us, because we are, especially when it comes to our twin flame, we're so fearful about what this means, because it's like you said, it's wow, I can't possibly embody this or go along with this. It's too much. It's just So what was your experience like in terms of inquiring within yourself and discerning what was true and in alignment with your experience?
Yeah, it was. There was one point where I was really kind of like massively triggered when my twin flame left me for a period of time, and I really became aware that to begin, I suppose it took a little while. It took a couple of days in this real kind of like really dark place, but I began to see that there were two parts inside me. There was like the wounded boy, and there was the healthy man. Yeah. And to begin with, it was the wounded boy that was just terrified. It was a triggering of an old mother wound, and it was like because the little boy was so terrified, there was so much fear and so much emotion that I couldn't really see anything clearly. And it was only as as the emotion began to settle and the man began to sort of like, have a voice and take care of the little boy, that I began to sort of see things clearly and sort of say, okay, well, my woman's just gone off because she needs a bit of space. It's been a bit intense and to say the least. And, and that's okay. And if she comes back, then that's great. And if she doesn't, I'll be okay. But it took a while for me to get there, because my little boy was just so terrified because he was still running the program of, mummy's left and is never coming back. So, I guess what I'm saying is when the emotion and when the wounded child is running the show, it's really hard to have any clarity and inquire and kind of see what's going on.
Yeah.
It's only when we can sort of step back a little bit and observe, and as that becomes less, it becomes easier and easier to be the witness and kind of watch what's going on and sort of notice the emotions and go, oh, there's an old pattern coming up here, and not sucked into it and take it all personally.
And it's very interesting you mentioned the childhood wounds, because it's always the inner child that needs to be healed, isn't it, in some ways? Not that we've all been through a traumatic childhood, because we've all had experiences, whether that's our upbringing through schools, our parental relationships, or whatever that might be. There's always trauma that we have to heal, and like we mentioned at the beginning, often we don't recognize it. And then when we're connected with someone like our twin soul, or even a soulmate that can bring up those deep wounds, we have to honor them and heal them, and that's what we go through in terms of this inquiry process, don't we? So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, quite a journey. Quite a journey, which I'm glad I don't need to go there again, but I'm so glad that that I've done it as well. That I've been there, and so grateful. As I've said to my twin flame, so grateful to her. Any pain, all the pain was because it was just old stuff clearing, old stuff leaving. I'm deeply grateful.
So the next stage of the journey is all about the shift in consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And the shift may seem like a very short stage of the journey, but I believe this is a very significant phase, because when we have shift in consciousness, we have a shift in energy and awareness within ourselves as well. It's like previous in the phase of self-inquiry, we have this fear, this doubt, and we don't know whether we want to embrace the journey because of the heavy weight that's on it, you could say.
Mm-hmm.
But when we go through the shift, we say, I'm going to embrace this for what it is, because I want to experience and embody true and unconditional love, in all its forms,
Mm-hmm.
So if I was to ask you what the shift was like for you, and how you began to shift awareness in order to then just embrace the journey in your own pace and in your own time, but how you started to create that shift?
Yeah, I guess as I say, it was a gradual reassuring of my inner child, and and my man, the whole sacred masculine, if you like, taking the center stage, and running, being in charge of where the carriage went, rather than this little scared little boy running it. So it was, I mean, what happened was, I guess, yeah, my twin flame she left me a few times, but every time she left me, I was able to handle it that bit better, and there was that little bit less fear, because at the end of the day, it's just my girlfriend. If a relationship comes to an end, it comes to an end. When we're at peace with ourselves and we're reasonably whole in ourselves, we know that nothing can be taken from us. It's a relationship, and the essential relationship is always the relationship that we have with ourselves. And though we may grieve the loss of a lover, life goes on, and and we know, and there's this deep sense that I will be okay, and knowing that, well, if everything is unfolding for my highest good, then her leaving is also part of that as well. So there's nothing to fear. There's
Definitely.
nothing to fear. If she stays, then that's great. We're meant to be together. If she doesn't, then okay, then that's also as it's meant to be, and there will be gifts and learnings in that as well.
And that's beautiful, isn't it? And that's definitely a big shift in consciousness there, because it's just embodying, embracing the connection, and I think I've spoken to other people about their twin flame journeys and stories. It's been a pleasure to speak with so many different people about their journeys, and they've all got their own experiences. But I find often the shift is where we sort of hand it over to the universe, hand it over to the divine, and say, look, it's in your hands now. And I'm okay with whatever happens, whatever experiences, and still we want that connection, we want that communication, we want to have that giving and receiving in the relationship, don't we? But that shift happens then, doesn't it? So
yeah. Sometimes it seems that aloneness is necessary. The aloneness precedes deep, true connection, because we can be with another person, we can live with another person, we can have a relationship with them, but we can be oceans apart. Again, it's back to that: the closer the relationship and connection I have with myself and the divine, I guess, because the divine is myself, I am an aspect of that, then the closer the connection and the relationship is with another. Yeah, it's a lot about that letting go of fear. Letting go of fear is the shift, really. I will be okay, either way.
So if we jump into your phase of transcendence is where you've got the challenges and obstacles, trials and tribulations, which then truly allow you to become who you are, become that beautiful soul, that amazing individual, but you're transcending in love at the same time. If I was to ask you, what were your greatest lessons and learnings throughout this journey, and what are some of the deeper wounds that you had to work through and deal with in order to become at one with yourself and even your twin flame?
The big part of, I think the greatest lesson was that, I'm whole unto myself, and that I can be at peace with myself, and to make this shift from a sort of needy codependency in relationship with laced with lots of fear, to I can be in relationship with another as the sort of like the icing on the cake. It's an extra, it's a bonus, but I'm still at peace, and I can still live happily and enjoy life and enjoy all sorts of different aspects of life, being with myself. I think that really was the biggest learning, because I'd always had this sense of incompleteness on my own, and slight unease being single and all that sort of stuff. So that was really just so liberating, just to be in that space where it's almost like, you know, it took me a long time just kind of like looking around, sort of going, oh, when's that feeling going to come back? And it's like, no, it's okay, you know, it's not necessarily, it's not going to come back. That little shadow that was always in the periphery of my awareness disappeared. So yeah, you know, that's the big shift really, and the letting go of the fear just meant that I became more, I guess it feels like life just began to flow more freely through me.
Yeah.
So that, and there was more just moments of transcendence in nature, or just, you know, just by myself, just becoming present, and just kind of, yeah, just little waves of bliss, and sort of like just really feeling the miracle of what it is to be alive, you know?
Yeah. It is truly a miracle, isn't it? You know,
Yeah.
I remember there was a speaker once many years ago that I connected with, and they were talking about the miracle of birth. It's truly a miracle for a baby to come out of that birth canal and bring life. You know, we don't often think about that process, and you think about like how long it takes for you know, a small you know, sperm, you could say, first of all, you know, the first part of conception through to then 9 months around that time, and then a baby is born in the space of that time. And it's just, it truly is a miracle, isn't it? When we think about that, you know, we are here as that miracle, however challenging it might be at times.
Yeah. Well, life itself is one great big miracle, and there are millions of miracles. Every plant, every, you know, water, fire, all the, just, you know, nature is just such a fantastic expression of the divine, isn't it? And just multitudes of miracles. But we it's kind of like you have to come home, and to a certain extent, to be able to actually witness them and see them. You know, two people can be looking out into a forest, and one will see just a massive miracles, another one will just see a load of wood and leaves.
Yeah.
You know, life is just full of miracles. Yeah.
See, that's what I find really interesting about this twin flame and twin soul connection, because, you know, like you said there, you can look into the forest and you can see, you know, we've all got our own different perspectives, but it's often as if, you know, your twin flame will embody the same thoughts and feelings as you. They've got the same outlook, the same perspective, and it's quite remarkable at times when you see that. It's like, wow, it's truly amazing that you actually see the world through my eyes, and I see the world through yours, you know?
Yeah, that's a good point, Andy. Yeah, I guess I've not brought a great deal of awareness to that either. But yeah, my twin flame, there was quite a difference in a way at the beginning when we met. If you like, I'd been on a spiritual journey for a lot longer than she had.
Yeah.
And she brought my stuff up to the surface massively, like, you know, to begin with. You know, I got triggered, and it was a lot of my wounds were to heal and clear. And then we sort of swapped around later on, and things got a bit calmer for me, and a lot of her stuff started coming up.
Yeah.
But, you know, through the process of us both facilitating each other's clearing and healing and transformation, yeah, we're very much more, you know, we became very much more in alignment and seeing things very similarly. And yeah, even our interests just began to line up more. You know, there was lots more congruences between us than there were differences. You know, it was quite interesting.
Yeah, no, definitely. I thought I'd mention that, because when you say that, just looking through the trees and we've all got these different perspectives, that in many ways our twin soul has a very similar perspective as us, you know, when we come into alignment. But then again, you've got the yin and yang still, and there's opposites, polarities, as well as you know, indefinite you know, alignments, and mirrors, you know. So,
Yeah.
So if I was to ask you, you know, I know we're coming towards the end of this interview. What was the feeling of becoming at one with yourself and finding your way back home on this journey of oneness, and even the unification with your twin soul, even either merging in the 5D or even in the physical?
Well, Yeah, the homecoming, I guess, is the best way. It was just a real sense of coming home. Not that I feel, again, I think there are deeper and deeper levels of coming home. But there is a great sense of lightness and liberation, and and the union when we're together, was always it's just this very much a sense of rightness. This is very right and natural and flow, and it's very out of the head anyway. All that stuff is like there isn't a lot of thought or thinking involved. It's just a dance. It's just a sort of dance, a sort of swirling dance of connection and union, which just feels just very right. Is that sort of home? It's like, I mean, because we experience so much disconnection and separation in this lifetime. They say that we come from oneness and we're birthed into this world of duality and separation, and the twin flame is a taste of that reconnection and that oneness and that that coming home. So it's just very beautiful and very welcome and very, just like a big sigh. It's a big sigh. It's like, oh, wow, that longing, longing fulfilled.
No, I know what you mean. I can definitely connect with what you mean there. And that weaving in and out, the weaving of the energies in and out as well of yourselves, your twin soul and your twin flame, and whatever comes through, which is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So tell me a bit more about, I believe each and every one of us goes on our journey, and especially with our twin flame and twin soul, to connect with our divine mission and purpose, and to give back in our own unique ways. And in many ways, I believe twin flames are here to really not only embody, true and unconditional love, but show that others can, vibrate from the same frequency. So tell me a bit more about your purpose and mission, and how you support others, on your journey, having gone through this twin flame process.
So I mean, I speak at conferences and places like the Goddess Conference or Voices of the Light Tribe. I spoke at Tantra Fest, workshops and talks, to inspire and to give people a flavour of my journey, I guess, and our own sacred stories, and and how we can evolve and heal. But the essence of my work is, apart from the writing, is what I call my sacred masculine healing sessions. So they are one-to-one sessions, which usually take place over the internet, through video calls. I work with people all over the world, and it's about, people will bring to the table whatever it is they need to bring. But because of my own journey, I feel that I have I know that I have a good degree of balance of my, divine twin flame energies within myself, of the masculine and feminine. And that just seems to give me a clarity and an ability to sort of hold space and be in that feminine, but also with some strength and stuff of the masculine as well. So those one-to-one sessions are a kind of fusion of coaching and counseling and mentoring, and lots of the spiritual wisdom that I've absorbed and embodied on my journey, to help people address, to heal those wounds, that are stopping them, going further with that union of the divine feminine and masculine within themselves, which then shows up in their relationships and challenges with the relationships that they're having, or the relationship that they would like to have, but don't seem to be able to get it together because of the wound within themselves. Yeah. I hope that
Excellent. I love it. Well, you said a lot there. There was a lot you shared there, which is amazing. It's I've connected with your work, and I know it's incredible work, and very, very raw, authentic, and essential. Really essential to share this work.
Thanks, Andy. Thank you.
So finally, because we're getting towards the end of the show, tell me a bit more about your book again. Bringing Home a Twin Flame Love Story. I'll
hold it up and do my marketing bit. It's launched on the 21st of June, so it is available at the moment to pre-order. that can be done through my website, migueldean.net. I'm assuming that you'll put some links and stuff on here, won't you, Andy?
Yeah.
That's the kind of guy you are. That'll be handy. And yeah, so the website and available through Amazon. And yeah, I'm going to be speaking about it, different interviews. You know, people can catch up with me on Facebook, Miguel Dean Sacred Masculine. And yeah, you know, it feels like a full-time job, really, launching this book, up to all sorts of different things, podcasts and social media and blogs and interviews and little book tours. But it just feels really important for me to, you know, in conjunction with Sacred Stories, who are the publishers who've been amazing, that are supporting me, you know, we're working together collaboratively on this journey to promote this book, because it just feels like it's needed in the world, you know, the energy of the sacred masculine, time for men and women to, it feels to me that, you know, when we resolve the issues between man and woman, when man and woman really fall deeply into love, then everything else on the planet gets sorted. You know, it feels like the real head cornerstone, the foundation. So it's I'm on a real mission to promote this book, which feels like a little seed, you know, a little seed that will plant hope and encouragement and ideas and inspiration for others, not just on their twin flame journeys, but on, you know, in any form of conscious relationship. Yeah,
Definitely, and thank you for sharing it. Again, I completely resonate with all that you say there. Like, you know, this work is essential to get out there, and you know, the divine union of one another. You know, whether it's our twin flame, or twin soul, or even the masculine and feminine within each and every one of us, we need to connect with divine love and embrace it. And and if we truly step into that place as individuals and as a collective, then, you know, many of the world's collective wounds will be healed. I do believe that in a big way.
yeah.
Is there any parting messages that you want to share in terms of, you know, providing people with some last parting words of wisdom to support them on their twin flame journey, or even, you know, to bring themselves home to who they are?
Yeah. From my own experience, you know, it's worth it. It's worth it. Sometimes sometimes things seem so painful and so challenging. You know, I guess we all have different degrees, but it seems that the pain is an essential part of this human experience. But suffering is optional. We don't have to suffer. And, you know, I guess, so, you know, I'm going to do my little plug for myself. If people are struggling with this stuff, then, you know, find me on my website. And, you know, that's what my one-to-one sessions are about. We're not meant to do this by ourselves, you know, this journey. You know, I had people to hold space for me and to guide me. It's really essential work, and it's powerful work, and it's key work. And however difficult it is, the rewards, I can only speak from my own experience, but, you know, I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't want to have to go through it again, but I'm glad that I've been where I am, because it's such a lighter, just such a better place to be when you come the other side. You know, we're stronger and we're more powerful and we're more beautiful than we think. And it's always low self-worth that holds us back. So, you know, it's time to shine, and it's time to believe in ourselves and do the work for ourselves. And as I always say, you know, the children and the generations to come as well, you know, we all do our own little bit of work, and we help create a more beautiful world. Yeah.
Perfect. And thanks again for sharing. All of the links will be below this video. So if you want to find out more about Miguel, his sessions, and who he is and what he does, and more importantly, his latest book, Bring Him Home, a Twin Flame Love Story, you can find out more about that in the links below. But thank you, Miguel, for sharing your journey and story. If you have any questions or comments to leave either myself or Miguel, please leave them below this video, and be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And I look forward to connecting with you again soon.
Thanks, Andy. Thank you.
Cheers. Bye for now.
Bye.